something through tasks called TaskRabbit through a mutual friend, and started doing these micro tasks for people. She would wake people up in the morning as a human alarm clock, or she was a mad scientist in Union Square at one point in San Francisco, and she had a lot of fun with it. She came out of her shell, and I actually failed to mention one part of that story. Through her chemotherapy treatments, she actually kind of went inside of herself and became agoraphobic and didn't want to leave her house. So this not only enabled her to earn money and pay the rest of her rent that Social Security didn't cover, but it also gave her the social benefit of interacting with other people again in a meaningful way. So I hope those stories illustrate kind of what sharing can be for other people. But I also want to mention that, what is the definition of sharing? And I think that this is actually, it's kind of legal, but I like it. 2 or more people coming together to pool resources, mutual and reciprocal, and a value exchange. That last one's actually pretty important to me because a value exchange doesn't necessarily mean that money needs to be exchanged, right? So through couch surfing, there's a social currency. Everybody feels like they're getting something out of it, but no money is exchanged. So these are some of the sharing economy businesses that have been popping up lately. Some of them have been around for a number of years, and others are quite new. So why now? I think we all know that the way we've been going, we can't keep going, right? So there's an economic need to do something different. And a lot of people have this huge desire for community. We used to be, many, many years ago, be a much more collective society in the United States, and now we've kind of become more individualistic and let's buy more stuff, let's keep up with the Joneses, and I hope now we're wanting to share more with the Joneses. So, and also mobility. We have the ability to, we all have mobile devices in our pockets and the internet's everywhere, so we can respond to requests and say yes, right then and there to someone wanting to rent our car, for example. And then the social graph. The social graph does something interesting. The social graph is like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all of these things that connect us, right? So it gives the potential for a trust reputation. So if someone has a bunch of friends on Twitter and Facebook and they post where they work on LinkedIn, are they gonna ransack my place? Probably not. So yeah. Technology is enabling trust, which I think is a really, really beautiful thing. So this is, I was researching the triple bottom line today, which is because I was creating these bullets. But the impact is on the economy, socially for individuals and collectively, and also on the environment. Less stuff basically. So a quicker, more human way to say that is save money, feel good, and own less stuff, right? So why own less stuff and why share stuff? Well, for example, the average car sits 92% of its life, and a power drill gets used 12 minutes. I think you've probably heard some of these statistics before, but you don't need the car, you need to get there. And you don't need the drill, you need the hole in the wall, right? So it's access over ownership. And how many of you have storage units? Any of you? Yeah, me too, unfortunately. So sharing gives everybody also a new earning potential, which I think is really interesting, right? So if I have an extra couch or extra space or my car that sits or that drill that doesn't get used, I can share it and I can make money from it. And that's kind of interesting because myself, for example, I live rent-free. I haven't paid rent in 6 months using Airbnb, and I think that's pretty spectacular. So it also enables you not only to make money, but to save money. These are some practical ways that you might actually be able to use the sharing economy in your own life. You can use your neighbor's car through something like Get Around or Relay Rides. You can couch surf and have a great local experience. Swap your clothes. Co-work. Co-working is, try it. And you can even just trade babysitting. I mean, if any of you are parents out there, like setting up a babysitting co-op in your neighborhood, or one night where, someone takes care of all the kids and makes dinner, you have extra time, right? So my favorite part, actually, is that sharing feels good. I think the reason that people share to begin with is because it feels good. And the reason they return to it, actually, I said that in reverse. The reason that people originally share is because they save money, but the reason they return is because it feels good. And it's been scientifically proven that you release oxytocin when you share something with someone. And interestingly enough, you don't have to meet that person in real life for that transference to happen. So it builds trust, positive social interaction, releases oxytocin, feels awesome. And wait, I'm not done yet. So sharing, I think, is the future of sharing is peer-to-peer, neighbor-to-neighbor, person-to-person. And I hope that you guys all go out in your lives and find some of these services, look them up, and consider sharing in your own lives to benefit your life, to benefit other people's lives, to build community, and just to have that experience, because I think it's really, really special. Thanks. Oh, and one more thing. If you go to shareandsave.net, that's a directory of shareable services where you can discover all different types of services that are around you. Thanks.
So if you guys have any questions for Chelsea, feel
free. Oh, yeah.
And Chelsea has some questions for the audience.
Wait, let's do questions first.
Okay. Wait for the mic. Questions for you guys?
Alex?
How can you share something like a car? Inevitably, there's going to be overlap when both parties want to use it, and that will result in conflict and frustration and all. How do the logistics of that work out?
That's a fantastic question. So companies like GetAround and Relay Rides have solved a lot of those issues. So there's actually a calendar that's shared. For example, I have a car that sits in a garage probably more than 92% of the time because I work from home, I work from co-working spaces, coffee shops, I'm gone a lot, etc., right? Well, there's a calendar that's built in to GetAround where I can say, my car is available on these days and these times, just like it is on Airbnb. And I can respond immediately via text. So if you say, I want to rent your car, I can say, accept or decline within seconds.
So a lot of the things that we use, we tend to use them all at the same time. So for instance, your personal bed in your house is hard to share because you want to sleep in it the same time that other people may want to sleep in it. There's phenomena of peak usage.
Sure.
For instance, it seems like I could share my air conditioner, but everyone else wants it during the day just like I do, instead of only at night, in some climates. So can you talk something about peak usage and dealing with that in sharing?
So, for example, through Airbnb, when I leave, I rent my apartment, for example, or I rent my couch when I am there, right? So it's definitely up to the whole, it's up to the host and the user how it gets used. It's a user-defined experience still. It's not like I just say, okay, book it, done. It's not a one-way transaction like that. As far as peak usage goes, you have a point there. Obviously, during times of conferences and things of that nature, there's more people that want to stay.
Breaks, right? It's if we only had sharing, right, as a way to deal with something during a conference or something, it can break more easily. If we all shared and things like that, maybe it would work. But until we get to then, it's there's this kind of symbiotic relationship, right? Hotels keep existing. I can find you first and take you over hotels, right? But if it was just
Sure.
you, the system would kind of break down.
Yeah, I don't think that the sharing economy replaces any economy. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry if I miscommunicated that. But I think that it's something that on top of everything else that exists is really, really powerful and important. Yep.
So Oh, hi.
Hi.
So I absolutely adore this concept. I think it's the best thing ever. Are you finding that people are becoming more and more receptive to it, or that it still might be weird, or? Yeah.
So there's a lot of things happening, right? Like it depends on what type of sharing you're talking about and what your threshold is. But I would say, I mean, in the bubble of the Silicon Valley, which is where I live, collaborative consumption and sharing is going like this. Like everybody is talking about it. But outside of that, I think that people have this big fear of, well, I don't know that person. Like, how do I know that they're not going to run off with my stuff or things of that nature, right? But as far as a trend goes, yeah, I see it exploding in the next year. Does that answer your question?
Hi.
Hey.
I also just wanted to comment on this. I think it's a great idea. I started an urban farm in Berkeley and a shared land, and it's been a great experience. I found the land, I met the owners, and it so happened that the neighbor on the other side is a permaculture expert, so I've learned permaculture through him. We're doing it together. And all the food that we grow now, it's like 5 families around the space are eating that, and it has become a really great experience in sharing, especially for the owners of the land who were really antisocial. And now they're like, when is the next party? How do I get to meet your friends?
Yeah,
it's
I
great.
know.
And the excess produce, I take it to I start a food swap. So I
cool.
take because I can't sell it,
Yeah.
but I take it to a food swap, and then other women bring other stuff, and we share the food, and it's a really great alternative to that aspect of having to go to the supermarket and buy food. So
Right.
I highly, highly encourage all of you to find a way to do some sharing.
Yeah, plug in somewhere. There's all different places in all different ways. All right, I think that's it. Thank you, guys.